I keep hearing about these ghost houses. There's like hundreds of millions of extra houses,
ghost towns,
of apartments in China. There are these concrete blocks that don't get finished, right? And people always say, why don't they just move all the homeless into those things, right? And we explain, well, there's no water hookup.
Yeah.
They're not finished, right?
Yes. It's an empty
There's no
shell.
bathroom, right?
There's no wall on the outside.
There's no wall on the outside. So there's these hundreds of millions of these concrete husks around the country where people have paid for them, but they can't live in them, right?
Yeah.
And this woman, in fact, paid for her house. It took 2 years, right?
Well, it's 2 years late on delivery.
I'm saying 2 years late on delivery. It took 2 years for them to deliver anything, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So she goes, you know what? I'm going to live in here anyway.
Yeah.
Guess what? To answer your question, why the homeless people or these people that bought their houses don't just go live in them anyway, this is what happens.
Yeah, we're going to show you. But I just wanted to clarify one thing. This is what's called a rotten tail project.
Yeah.
And what happens is if you invest, and it's a huge amount of money, you go put your deposit down, just like buying a house anywhere else. Huge deposit down, and then you start paying your mortgage immediately. So you start paying a mortgage on this thing, and they say, okay, and it'll be delivered by this date next year or whatever, right? So the due date came. And 2 years have passed since the due date, and she's still paying her mortgage for this thing that's not finished yet. So now we can actually go into the video and see what happened. Beyond the Great Firewall.
我是我干什么不花钱？我钱都给他了，30万都给他了。我现在手里边没有钱租房子。我给你看微信都行。我现在我都是信用卡都套好几万了都，你让我怎么还？这边是房贷，那边是信用卡。 那边是房租，
那不是你生活的事儿，你自己的选择。
那是因为他们我才变成这样的。
I think we also have to explain that she set up a tent.
Yes.
In her apartment.
So so now you've understood there's police at her door.
Yes.
In this concrete husk of an apartment building where no one can live.
Yeah, and it's 2 years late on delivery.
Yeah.
And it's the construction is stalled.
It's never going to finish.
So it's not going to finish.
No.
And it's just left like that. So she's taken a tent, moved into her apartment that she's paid for, and set up a tent in this concrete husk.
Yeah, so she's going to live in it anyway. She's like, if I'm not going to get my house, I'm at least going to live in the husk.
Yeah, so let's continue.
再说我现在入住我自己的房子是不是可以啊？是他不给我开门，我才强住的。
这个地方没交工的不够。
2年前就应该交工了，怎么就不具备？他现在，我现在是不是住的挺好的？怎么就不具备居住条件了？
你吃在哪儿吃啊？你用电在哪儿呢？水在哪儿呢呀？
我还得告诉你我上厕所怎么上啊？
我就说这地方不适合居住，知道不？
我觉得它适合。 它是我现在最适合居住的地方，我还不用花钱，我就可以住的地方。
So
yes,
that's, I think, a huge insight into this whole hundreds of millions of unfinished apartments across China, those ghost apartments. You can't even live in the shell if you want to.
Yeah, see, she forced her way in, as you can hear from the dialogue. So she obviously got the, I don't know, groundskeeper or something that was there to
He opened the door for her, yeah.
So then she ran in and set up a tent, and she's like, I'm just going to live here now. And so they called the police to get her out of her own apartment that she paid for, that should have been completed 2 years prior. That's the situation that's going on in China. It's a mess.
That's why there's all these huge uprisings, and there's people refuse to work, and they're setting factories and buildings on fire all over the country, the whole ruined nation thing.
Yeah.
It's because people are losing everything. Imagine you put all your money into an investment property or your own house to live in, your first home.
Yeah.
And you can't even live in it.
No, you can't move in. And you have to be paying rent and a mortgage at the same time.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And the mortgages in China are far, far more expensive than the rent.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
It's the weird thing is like many of the apartments that I used to rent, it was fairly reasonable to rent.
Yeah.
I'd be paying like whatever, let's just say anywhere between the lowest rent I ever paid was 1,800 RMB a month, and the highest was about six to 7,000 a month. But even on the cheapest apartment I was renting, the mortgage was closer to like 15 to 20,000, which is like what, 4 times or whatever that I was paying in rent or more. So it's kind of weird. So imagine you're paying a huge amount of money for your mortgage, and you're also paying rent at the same time.
Yeah.
Just not fair.
True.
Okay, now we've got a special for you. Okay, we wanted to talk about water for a second here. I just want to pause it.
Oh, the illegal water filling facilities?
Yes. So before we get into this, because this is actually an interesting new song that's just dropped out of China.
Nice.
That came along with this video for some reason. But, in China, you can't drink the tap water.
Yes.
Like anywhere.
No.
Can we just make that very clear here?
Yes.
You've got a country, how big is it compared to America?
It's the same size.
Same size as America, 1.4 billion people. Not one of those 1.4 billion people in any of those square kilometerage of the entire place can drink water out of the faucet.
Correct.
You can't.
You can't.
So it doesn't matter if you go all the way north, like far north.
It's not opinion either. It's not like, oh, that's my choice. You can't.
No, you can't. You will poison yourself. You'll get sick. So you go to the north, you go to the south, you go to the east, you go to the west, you go in the middle. Doesn't matter where you go, you cannot drink the water.
You cannot.
And I love the fact that every time I point out that you cannot drink the tap water in China, someone says Flint, Michigan.
Yes.
Someone right now was thinking that, weren't they?
Yes, they were.
They were like, oh yeah, Flint, Michigan.
Yeah.
Screw you, Flint, Michigan. It's been fixed. And it's one city that you know about. How do you know about it? Because it was very widely publicized. How are you going to compare one town or one city in the whole of America, only one, with a very well-documented case, to an entire country where 1.4 billion people cannot drink the tap water? So stop. America's not the best at being the worst.
Yes.
Okay?
Stop
I
your
know you
ABP.
always want to be like the best at being the worst, but you can't.
Shout out to the ABP. by the
Yeah,
way.
exactly. Yeah, where is that?
America
It's,
Bad
yeah.
What about us and we trust?
Yes. Okay, now let's get back to this. Because nobody can drink the water, you have to buy jugs of water, and you have like what looks like an office cooler in your house. Everybody has it. Even if you don't have a full-on office cooler, you just put that jug down. You have a little pump, like a hand pump that you connect to it. Some of them are electric. But you have to get your water refilled, whatever, once a week or once every 2 weeks, depending on your house, right, and how much you use. But the problem is that you get a lot of these clandestine operations that just fill it up with who knows what.
Well, they fill it up with tap water.
Yes, sometimes they do.
Drink.
Or weird well water, or
Yes.
even fire hydrant water I've seen with my own eyes. But like, for instance, this is not a controlled facility. They've got filters in the background I can see, right? But it's not a controlled facility.
No.
It's not correct. And she's sealing them because they're supposed to be sealed, like professionally sealed. So, it gets filled up at a factory and then it gets sealed so that you know that it's not tampered with or whatever. But look, she's just got the seals in a dirty bucket over there and she just knocks them on, as you'll see. But that's not what's important about this clip. I downloaded this clip and it had a random background music to it. And I think we better bring in an expert to introduce the music to us.
Okay.
And this expert's going to tell us if it's good or not.
Is it perchance Salty Waters?
It could be. Let's find out. Get us out of here. Let's take a look.
Chartered floats can be used towards boats to install the most modern and enjoyable.
What a wonderful song. How come I've never heard it before?
The most modern and enjoyable. The floats can be used most modern and enjoyable. Towards boats to install the most modern and enjoyable.
永远不会累，向你温暖怀抱飞去。短暂的分离 ，baby， 我要听你声音。
Salty.
说好不会哭，开心了，翻页魔法书，你会笑。这次你
Wow,
还是
Salty approved it?
Oh, yeah. I
Great
think that's
tune, great
Salte
tune.
approved song. So it's called Poison Waters. Artist is Stony Rainstorm.
If you are new here, because we have quite a large audience right now. If you're new here, this guy, unfortunately, he didn't shill for the Chinese government, but he did this one video for Chinese state media where he had to like pretend to be interested in this cultural music,
Yeah.
and he does this thing where he goes, "What a wonderful song!"
I could actually
you
play
have
it.
right?
What a wonderful song. How come I've never heard it before?
So anytime there's music related, we have him involved.
Yeah, so this is Salty Waters approved.
Yes.
New soundtrack. Going to be on an album dropping soon, I'm sure.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
The Royal Rumble is coming.
The annual The China Show's Royal Rumble is this year's main event.
Characters from the China Show come out one by one and they bring their beef.
The first year, Jaunty had a great performance,
Great.
but he wasn't so lucky the following year.
Tractor bulldozed Ballsack for a stunning victory in year 2.
Winston, Jaunty's been looking for his second victory, but he's really, for lack of better words, pissed at the Haze Runner because he, in fact, is the fastest man in the world.
I'm the fastest man in the world. Nobody can stop me.
Not that wheezing maniac.
Also, don't forget the new kid on the block, or should I say new brick in the wall, Mason, who's really angry with his neighbor Salte Waters, who plays his music too loud.
What a wonderful song. How come I've never heard it before?
It's been a little too much for Rick,
Wow, that's a little too much for me.
who's been replaced by Raging Roger. This is the feud of the year.
Join us at the Xiaoban Ho live tier to watch this year's main event, this year's Royal Rumble, as it happens with live commentary from C-Milk and Winston. You will be there and you will enjoy it. You will follow us, okay?
You'll follow me, okay?
Or you can support us at any other tier level to see it after it airs live.
Don't forget, you can gift patron memberships and bring the joy of the Royal Rumble to your family this season.
We'll see you in the ring on December 23rd at 5 p.m. EST. Be there or the frog gets peed on.